commissioners, weed boards, all come together. They look at a huge variety of different topics, anything from just rangeland assessment to, vendors from all over the country come in and talk about updates and upgrades in their chemicals. If there's any new laws that apply, they go to that. There's HR issues. Pretty much if you can think about it, they probably have it on their agenda. You folks are invited. Again, that is January 9th through 11th. It is in Great Falls. If you are interested in attending that one, please feel free to come to me. I can get you on board as to how to sign up and register for that. Or you can look under the Weed Control website for all that information as well. They have the actual agenda, or will be posting the actual agenda, registration, all that stuff on their website here right soon. So, as far as mosquito trainings, the annual training falls in conjunction with the Montana Weed Control Association, as is usually is that the last day is only a half a day at the Montana Weed Control Association, which they'll give us a couple of hours, and we'll transfer over to the annual mosquito conference on the 11th, and that goes the 11th and 12th. It's pretty much ran the same way as the Weed Control Association, where it's a statewide deal. Any updates on herbicides or chemicals out there, programs, if there's any new issues that have arose in the state, they'll be discussed there. Business with the Mosquito Vector Control Association will be taken care of there. Things like that. So that's on the 9th, I should say. I think is our area meetings and our state meetings. As far as regular business goes, at the Weed Control Association is on the 9th usually. So with the mosquito, I just went to the Northwest region, the fall training. This is an annual conference actually, and it involved people from all over the Northwest region for the mosquito control vector, not just Montana, but people from Washington, California, Idaho, Oregon, and even Canada. There was representatives there. I don't even know where to begin with explaining things other than the mosquito world has got some really innovative things like coming up, like the use of drones for mosquito control. And they're using them all over the country now for reaching isolated areas. And there's some mosquito control is a huge issue, not just in this part of the world, which is, I think we're going to start seeing it in this part of the world a lot sooner than we think, unless we keep a proactive approach on it because of the Canyon Ferry. California had 2 new major diseases, and I can't remember exactly which ones they were, but deadly diseases brought to their state this year alone, and that's through imports and exports of products and goods. One of them was the Zika virus. The Zika virus is knocking on our door on several borders, but with Canyon Ferry being right here and people coming into Canyon Ferry for our recreational opportunities, mosquito larvae can be transported in a lot of different products, one of them being boats. So we've got to keep our head on the swivel there, keep proactive, as there's some diseases out there, you know, that are both human related and animal related that could very, very, very deeply affect this community and all communities. They're also starting to see new species of mosquitoes being brought to this state, or this country I should say. Ones that never really knew were there, but they are coming from other countries like the Eurasian countries and stuff in the jungles, bringing things like malaria and some of these other health issues. So, but it was that northwest region. I went to that one. That was in Whitefish. That was a great opportunity, and it's the first time, I think they said it's the first time it's been in the northwest region in over 10 years. Or not in the northwest region, it's been in the northwest region, but it's been the first time in Montana in over 10 years, sorry. So that's why I went to that one. That was a great opportunity. It was just really interesting, an eye-opener to see the issues affecting the outcomes of everything up there. So, and not just in this state, but in all of our closely bordering states. I guess that's pretty much my, you know, I didn't have one on here, but one of the things that I am a part of, I'm an advisory position for the Elkhorn Working Group. They meet every so often out of Helena, and their primary concerns are all things related to the Elkhorn Mountains, and usually the advisory group committee involves the Forest Service, the BLM, private landowners, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. My vested interest as the weed person for Broadwater County. So I just attended a meeting with the Weeds Committee of the Elkhorn Working Group, and that's just an advisor where we update everybody, all the agencies. We collaboratively work together across all boundaries in controlling invasive species and noxious weeds. And so that one is usually we do try to do at least 2, if not 3 meetings throughout the year. But I do attend that one. So those are just kind of some of the meetings that I am, you know, that this job entails for both the weed world and the mosquito world. That, you know, it shows a huge networking with the different agencies, different landowner organizations, groups, nonprofits, things like that. So.
Scott, how often does your weed board or members attend the January meeting for weed?
I don't think they've attended one for probably 3-4 years that I know of.
Did they before that attend? Do you know?
I think 1 or 2 of the weed board members may have went up when I first got here.
That would be a good one for your board as well as this commission to attend. And then also I just wanted to thank you for taking over the mosquito. I know you took it over. There were a lot of issues to be worked out. By the time that you were given free rein, the season was already into the season. And by that point, the contractor bagged out on Broadwater County in June without any notice. You were handed a really difficult situation this year. So I appreciate what you did for the mosquito district, and I'm excited to see what you and your board will come up with a plan. I know that this is the planning season, you'd mentioned that. So I'm excited to see how you make this fly.
You know, the mosquito deal is what it was. I think what we ended up upon the year, I think I got a lot of good reports from a lot of the different mosquito people. There was a lot of negative publicity out there, but there was also a lot of positive reports back to me. I had a lot of citizens coming in here and saying this is the first time in several years that they actually seen somebody out there fogging, not just in one spot, but all over the district. We also took a proactive approach, and we got some new stuff that we can go forward with the larviciding, and starting to do the surveying in-house. So if we have questions, if we're seeing something, we can get out there and take that proactive approach. We're still gonna have a few things, to work out and some issues to work out. But we're gonna be keeping that proactive. Let's get it done and not sit there and overanalyze everything, let's just get it done and keep going forward, so.
Thanks for that, appreciate it.
Thank you for your compliments.
I think Dave had a question for you.
No, I just wanted to know what the plans were.
Oh, okay. It was kind of mixed up on our schedule here, and he did end up earlier than we did. So I guess you could talk with him anytime.
Which, you got in on you got your questions asked, or you had some questions, or?
No, I don't. I just want to know what our plan was. I just want to know what the plan was for this year.
For the mosquito?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna keep going forward and going and attacking. We're gonna make sure that the Canyon Prairie Wildlife Management Area has the larviciding done at the appropriate times. There's not gonna be any questions about who, what, where, when, when, how. We'll have that set in place. As far as the adult deciding, we've pretty much got routes and routines, starting to figure that out again. And so whoever comes in and does that, the fogging and stuff, will be prepared at the appropriate time as well. And we're gonna go forward with that. So. Mm-hmm.
Other more question or anything for Scott? If not, thank you for your report.
I don't know, I'll just, and like I say, these are just bullet point notes. That I'll hand in to her, so she can make sure that all the numbers and questions were right. And if you have any questions, Dan, or anybody, feel free to let me know. So, pretty confusing on all that grant stuff when you got 8 or 9 or 10 different grants open. Sometimes it's like, whoop. So, all right, thank you, folks. Have a
Thanks,
great day.
Scott.
Thank you. Running a little behind Linda, using information.
You won't be running behind when I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you for summoning me here. I don't have as much to report as Scott. In fact, I was making notes while he was talking. Of course, the museum's closed. I usually am up there this time of year quite a bit, but because my husband has been ill, I have not been here, so. Things aren't progressing as much as I wish they were. But we did have a pretty good year. There wasn't as much, seems like there wasn't as much research as there usually is, but there were a lot of donations of money and artifacts. I think we had more money donation than since I've been there. In fact, I know we did. We had a $4,000 one, a $500, a $300, and several $100s, and then just several piddly ones that add up. We probably will be looking for a new attendant. I sent letters of interest over for 4 or 5 board members for the end of the year. We had some pretty interesting donations, artifacts this year. Larry Heberly has been very good to the museum, and he is a detectorist, and he has all sorts of items from Fort Logan, and there's quite a few in there already, but he donated more. And he also donated several other items also. Some people from Bozeman donated quite a large collection of original reprinted Haynes photos. And by reprinted, I mean they were printed by the Haynes Studios, and Haynes is the Yellowstone photographer. And they said that we could do anything we wanted with those photos. So I'm working on an appraisal of them before we do anything. We received several donations where the donor said we could do what we wanted with them, sell them, keep them, give them away, whatever we wanted. The Haynes photos, and then Larry Haberly had quite a library, and he donated most of his books from his library and said we could do as we please with them. Hope we received, I think, 3 wedding dresses this year. And one of the greatest things we received is probably an 11 by 14 photograph of Main Street, the oldest photograph I have seen of Main Street. It's from 1895, and a man from Connecticut was going through some family papers, and he emailed it to us, and it's a photo of Main Street, and on Dave Thompson's building is a poster of Barnum and Bailey Circus, and then on Main Street is a Ferris wheel, and one of those, I don't know what it's called, but the great big tall ladder where they climbed up and dove into the little tub of water. And the power poles, I think, were brand new. We did silent auction it off at Fall Festival and got $65 for it. And so we will have that for sale in the museum also. But that is really a cool photograph. I had a request a while ago from, I don't know where the guy was from. He called, and there's a grave up Indian Creek, and the guy who used to live out by us, who's the author, wrote a book about this grave, Barron, Henry Barron. And his book is fiction, but the grave is real, and I don't know where it is, but I kind of know where it is. It's across Indian Creek, just as you come out of the Narrows. And Henry Barron's grandson, I believe, called and said that there was some timber clearing activity going on there, and he was worried that the grave would be affected. So I called all over, and finally Dana Rouser, I called him to see if there was any work on the county road up there, but he thought it was BLM, and he went up and looked at it because we want to protect that grave. And actually, I haven't gotten back to Dana to find out what he found out, but he thinks it was BLM and they were just cleaning out some brush. One of the projects we're working on is there are several cassette tapes in the museum of oral histories, like from Royal Smith and Tom Williams, the old Tom Williams, Annie Bisbee. There's probably 25, and we are having those transferred to CDs. And then we'll load those on the computer so that we'll have them forever. And we got 3 grants to do that project. And we think we're going to be refunding the money for the grants on the tapes we don't have finished yet, because we found a machine that will do that, and so we can use the machine for free, and so we're going to give the money, probably give most of the money back. I'm wanting to work on getting the newspapers digitized. I don't know how far I'm going to get with that, because the Historical Society, of course, has lost a lot of their funding, and I think that's one of the projects they lost funding for. Of course, we have to pay them to do that. And so I'm just taking baby steps getting to start that project. And we kind of have mixed feelings on what we're going to do with these digitized newspapers. There are sites all over where you can go and read an old newspaper online. And selfishly, I'm not sure we want those online, because the newspapers draw a lot of people into the museum. But for the protection of the newspaper, I think we do need to have it saved. And whether we will put it on the internet or not, it remains to be seen. And I know enough about this to be dangerous, but evidently you can charge if you put it on the internet. You can still collect money for them to go into to view it. So I don't know what we're going to do, but the Historical Society in Helena contacted me one time to digitize the Bygones. And I told them no, because the Bygones is a big moneymaker for the museum. And if it's on the internet, you get it for free. So I'm a little bit protective of what we do with it. But it's not up to me, it's up to the board, so. But we are starting to work on that. And that's all I have to tell you, unless you have some questions or comments.
I have one. The Historical Society grants, was that the legislative grants that came down from the state? You said there were some cuts to preservation with the Historical Society?
Well, I think from their all-around cuts.
Okay.
I did not see this, but the lady who I have corresponded with and talked to, who does the digitizing, evidently had a letter to the editor of the Independent Record a few weeks ago that said that's one of the projects that they'll have to cut because of their cuts in funding from the budget for from the last legislative session.
Okay.
Did that answer you, Laura?
It did, it
Okay.
did. You know, you hear the overall, and then you just brought in a piece, and it just kind of helps put the whole puzzle together. I know it's just one piece of it, but yeah, that answered it, thanks.
Anything else?
Yeah. Sounds like you got a lot of little things going over there.
Well, there's a lot of little things going, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time, and
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
have a nice Thanksgiving, everyone.
Okay,
You too.
And I'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right.
hope they spend as much money on a confirmed disease as they did on mussels.
I guess they had found 2 bucks that had it.
No, they found one, and they did 2 tests on it.
Oh, well,
They said the second one was the second test on the same buck.
oh, was it?
They tested
Oh,
one
I
day, they
understood.
sent
I
it to
thought it was
Colorado.
a different, oh, okay. Okay, well, that's all the mail. There's this here kind of a magazine thing, I believe right here. We're scheduled to go for the jail tour, so.
Mike's gonna meet us for that, and then we can get on the time, but, we do have to have the agenda done today by 1:30 is the deadline for the newspaper, so, that needs to get done right away. We have a couple of things we talked about earlier that need to get on the agenda. Also, approving the journal entries. We, had a meeting about a new process, we've implemented the new process. We haven't seen anything on the agenda for approving journal entries. What's, is there something I missed?
No,
Is
I was
there an
gonna put
update
it
on
on
that?
there now. I've talked to Mako on that also, so.
Good, that helps. Okay, that's all, I had. I do wanna submit one thing for the record. This is from the National Criminal Justice Association, and with the changes to the Board of Crime Control, I've been appointed to this, council. And we got an email from them, and it's entitled, "New Study Finds Correlation Between Medicaid Expansion and Crime Rates." And what they have found, they studied the states that did implement Medicaid expansion, compared them to the states that hadn't. The states that had implemented had an average of 3.2% decrease in violent and nonviolent crimes, which resulted in an estimated $470 million savings per year per state. So I thought that was important to share. I'm gonna submit it for the record if you guys wanna see it. I'd be happy to forward the email to you or share with you the printed copy.
Well, we'll head over for our jail tour, so we'll adjourn at 11:31.
No, we're not adjourning because we're still in our meeting. We need to let Ann know the time that we're done. That will be the